Greetings, Iain from RTO here. Welcome to Friday. It's the weekend coming. So it's live album ranking, and we're going to look at a really good band from America. I've never seen them, but I've seen plenty of them on telly and what have you, and it's Extreme. Band from Boston. They formed in 1985, but they really hit the big time in the late 80s, early 90s. Played at Freddie Mercury's tribute gig, because Brian said they were both reminded them of them, which is pretty good. Original lineup was Gary Cherone, Nuno Betancourt, Gary on the vocals, Nuno on guitars. Paul Geary was the drummer, and Pat Badger plays bass. They've had two other drummers, and the drummer at the moment is Kevin Figueroa. Now I've got 4 live albums. There's 2 official ones and there's 2 unofficial ones, so I've done them all together. They're all good. Some recordings are better than the others, of course, and that's how I've sort of ranked them, because I like listening to all of them. So, coming in at number 4, this was released in 2020, and it is called Frontal Live 1990. So this would have been done round about, I'd say, on the Pornograffitti sort of tour. There's lots of tracks off, basically there's tracks off the first 2 albums, which is absolutely brilliant. Opens up with It's a Monster from Pornograffitti, and I love that. It's one of my favourite tracks on the album, and it's brilliant live. And then we have Little Girls, which is the opening track of the debut album, Extreme. Brilliant live. Then we get When I'm President and Pornograffitti. Great songs, great live. Kid Ego. Then we get Susie Wants Her All Day Sucker from Pornograffitti. Then we get a great version of Rockabye Baby, which is off the debut album. I love that. More Than Words, He-Man Woman Hater, and then that lovely little ditty called The Flight of the Wounded Bumblebee. How they create that live is amazing. Nuno's a great guitarist. Then we get Decadent Dance, the opening track to Pornograffitti. Brilliant track. Get the Funk Out of Here. Great little crowd pleaser. And then we get a version of Play That Funky Music, which is pretty good actually. Great set. But what lets us down a little bit is the distorted, muffled recording. Proper bootleg, but I still like listening to it, because it's got some great tracks on it. Gary Cherone's on fire on this. It is a very good little album, and I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay then, coming number 3. Now, this is a CD that I picked up at a record fair. Now, I've sort of worked out when it was recorded. I'm looking at some of the tracks on it, and I reckon this was recorded on the Waiting for the Punchline tour in 1995-96, and the album's called The Third Side Live. Now, I've worked out when this was done because of who's playing drums on it. So it's Gary Cherone, Nuno Betancourt and Pat Badger, and on the drums on here is Mike Mahoney from Dream Theater, and he sort of came between Paul Geary and Kevin Figueroa. So roughly when this happened, so I've sort of worked it out. If someone knows the exact thing, I'd love to know. But this is a short little one, and it's got It's a Monster, stonking track. Warheads, which is absolutely brilliant on here. It's great. It's a great song. Kid Ego from the debut album. Play With Me from the um, debut. Rest in Peace from Three Sides. Brilliant live. It's a great track. And then a wonderful version of Am I Ever Gonna Change? Not the best one I've got live, but brilliant. Then we got Mike's Drummer Madness. Then a fantastic track from Three Sides of Every Story. Cupid's Dead. Midnight Express, which is from Waiting for the Punchline, which is not my favourite Extreme album, but the live version, it's got a bit more beef to it. It's really good. More Than Words, Decadent Dance, classic. And then again, another track from Waiting for the Punchline, Naked. Much better live than on the studio. And the album's rounds out with Get That Funk Out. Okay, great little album. I'm glad I've got this. It's, you know, got live albums, all the lineups on it, which is always pretty good. Some of the tracks from the 2 tracks they do from Waiting the Punchline are excellent on this. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 2. This is one of the official albums now. Came out in 2016 and it's called Pornograffitti Live 25 Metal Meltdown. This was recorded in May of 2015 at the Joint Hard Rock Casino in Las Vegas. And it is basically the whole of Pornograffitti track by track as it came out on the album. So performing on here is Gary Cherone, Nuno Betancourt, Pat Badger and Kevin Figueiredo. Opens up with the brilliant Decadent Dance. Love that track. Little Jack Horner, When on Precedent, Get the Funk Out, More Than Words, brilliant tracks. Money in God We Trust, It's a Monster, Pornographitti is great on here. When I First Kissed You, this is lovely. It's a lovely track and it's got so much atmosphere as a live. Susie Wants All Day, Sucker, cool track. Flight of the Wounded Bumblebee again, absolutely stunning stuff. He-Man Woman Hater, Song for Love, probably the weakest song on the album, but it's a good sing-along. And Wholehearted. Amazing to hear the whole of Pornographitti live. Love playing this live. It's got so much atmosphere. The tracks are really heavy, and what I like about it, you can't tell the difference if it's live or the studio. So it's absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.5. So my number 1 is an album that came out in 2010 and it is Take Us Alive, and this features the final concert on the East Meets West tour, recorded at the House of Blues in Boston on August the 8th 2009, and it's on the Sawdust Rock tour. So it's Gary Cherone on the vocals, of course, Nuno on the guitars, Pat on the bass and Kevin on the drums. Opens up with a Decadent Dance. Great version of this, great opener. Really gets the crowd going. Then we get Comfortably Dumb from Sawdust Rock. Great version of it. It's better than the studio version. Rest in Peace, great version of that. It's a Monster, always goes down a storm. Then we get a great track off the Sawdust Rock, Star. I love this track and I even think it's better live. Some great bass playing from Pat on that. Then Tell Me Something I Don't Know from Waiting for the Punchline. Again, I was never really took by that album, but the live versions of these tracks are really good, and that is brilliant. And then we come to my favourite part of the whole album. You get the medley of tracks off the the debut album, you get Kid Ego, Little Girls and Teacher's Pet, and then they roll it off with a bombastic version of Play With Me. Absolutely brilliant. The crowd are going absolutely wild on that one. Then we get Midnight Express, which is from, if I can remember, I think it's from Waiting for the Punchline. Again, a really good version. More Than Words, always great. A great version of Ghost from the Sawdust to Rock. Again, one of the tracks I wasn't too keen on the album, but live it's brilliant. Cupid's Dead, Take Us Alive, I love that. Yeah, it's great live. A little bit of that Flight of the Wounded Bumblebee. Get the Funk Out, and then the best live version of Am I Ever Gonna Change? It's one of my favourite tracks off the Three Sides album, but that is probably the best version of it I've got. Absolutely brilliant. And the album ends with Wholehearted. Absolute belter of a live album. I think there's always something about a band that does a concert in their hometown. The crowd is absolutely perfect, and I think bands who like playing in their hometowns are certainly great album. It's got some of the definitive versions of these Extreme songs, and I do play this, and it's the one I really go to if I want to listen to some live Extreme. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. So there we have a little bit of Extreme. Now, I've got an apology to make. It's all to do with the live album ranking. Now, last night on the live stream, when I give out what's happening next week, because I had sort of had a blurry afternoon, and I only woke up at 20 to 8 because I fell asleep, and I hadn't finished the script of what was going on, and I just writing it down, and I said that it was next week's live album ranking was going to be Gentle Giant. No, it isn't. That's the following week. Next week it is Arena Live, part 2 of the John Mitchell story. I was listening when I was writing it. I was listening to some Gentle Giant at the time. I don't know, but if you look at the schedules on all social media, it is the right one. So it's not Gentle Giant. So you Gentle Giant fans have got to wait an extra week. Okay, that's all for this one. I've got 2 more. Got a Super Friday today. We're going to have a look at an album that came out late last year from the Smashing Pumpkins. It's a part of a trilogy, and the second part comes out next week, so I thought we'd do part 1 of Autumn this week. And then we got a one-off album as well for you this week. We did the Strawbs the other week, and remember I said that I'd be doing the Strawbs and Sandy Denny all of our own work, so we're going to do that today as well. So join me for that later. So bye for now.